Good morning. I'm Fred Lazarus. I'm president of MICA, and Mike Mola welcomed you earlier. I just also like to begin by welcoming you to the college and for those of you from out of town, to Baltimore. And thank you for being here for this conference and for being able to help us learn more from you so that we can do a better job here in Baltimore. I'm also going to spare you a PowerPoint. You've been to Station North. You are at MICA. You don't need pictures. But I want to go back a little bit into history. I've been here for a long time, and I want to talk a little bit about sort of MICA and the evolution of the Station North area and our involvement in it, and just offer some observations I have about some of the things that I think have been so important in order to try to move that whole project forward. My involvement in that area goes back at least 20 years, maybe more, when I began working with people in the neighborhood about trying to do planning and development efforts. It was always my belief that the area was a natural place for both young people and for artists, and that we ought to be able to do something with this area, which always was, as somebody referenced earlier, the hole in the donut in terms of development that was going on in Baltimore. And there had been a number of pioneer efforts, certainly the Everyman Theater and the Charles Theater, which were developed now quite a long time ago, were really important anchors, and there were a few other anchor activities that happened in the area, but very little really moved forward from that, although there was really a belief that those two projects would synergize other kinds of things. All the planning efforts that we did, both as a community and with the city, generally speaking, went nowhere except on the shelf, and very little could happen. When different groups came in to try to do different initiatives in the area, and even in the early days of the Station North Arts and Entertainment District under the direction of Kirby Fowler, there were a number of initiatives tried, but most of these really never got any momentum to them and really certainly didn't generate enough critical mass to really see any change. It's really my belief that an arts and entertainment district and arts as a revitalization strategy doesn't work unless it's a comprehensive strategy that includes a great deal more than the arts. One of the things that happened in this particular area, and I think it's often true in other places as well, is earlier one of the speakers talked about the competition in areas. Well, I always find that the negative forces are always stronger than the positive forces in almost every community. And no matter how much momentum you might have behind a particular initiative, if there are a couple people who are very strong voices there that want to stop it because they feel that somebody's getting benefits and they're not, almost inevitably everybody walks away from the project because it's just not worth the trouble to go against all the resistance. And this was true in this neighborhood. And I think one of the things that we all know about, and this was evident in the previous conversation as well, these are changing neighborhoods. The Station North area did not experience the riots as other streets did in Baltimore, but it definitely was disenfranchised as a result of that civil unrest in the 60s, and stood in a very undeveloped area for a long, long time. The arts people, as they came into the area, the arts district that started to be formed, represented a real threat to a lot of the people who had lived in that community for a long time. And if a program was not developed in a way that the real estate owners, the residents in the area, the artists in the area all felt that there was something in it for everybody, nothing was ever going to happen. And this is when a really visionary foundation leader here named Tim Armbruster pulled a group of people together and started a conversation which led to the formation of the Central Baltimore Partnership. The Arts and Entertainment District from the beginning was a very important component of that, and the arts agenda of the Arts and Entertainment District was always a key component of that group. But the agenda was much greater than an arts agenda. It was doing everything from low-income housing to market rate housing to artist housing to commercial revitalization to business development to crime and grime issues to code enforcement issues to all the other aspects that are really critical to any kind of revitalization effort. And which was different than the traditional community development strategies that many of us may be familiar with from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, this organization never saw itself and still doesn't see itself as a community development entity. It sees itself as a facilitator to help other organizations do their work. And in that role, This organization, I think, has really provided both the resources to help the Arts and Entertainment District's agenda move forward, but it also has addressed the other agendas that are a priority of other groups in the area, other organizations, and there are dozens of neighborhood organizations within this community. And if those organizations didn't feel that their agendas were being met also, they would not necessarily support the work that's being done by the Arts and Entertainment District and its agenda. So it really is this comprehensive ecology that seems to make this work. Many of the projects which we now tout as being so important in the Arts and Entertainment District were not those necessarily of the Arts and Entertainment District providing the leadership to them. They were important partners in that effort, whether it be the City Arts Building of the as artist housing, which was done by an organization here that does low-income housing and sits at the table in the Central Baltimore Partnership area. The Baltimore Design School that many of us are very much involved with, which is across the street from City Housing, which is now under construction, was not done by the Arts and Entertainment District, but it was their commitment to make this an arts district and our recognition in the vision plan that included the area as being an arts and entertainment-based community that led to the location of that school in this district is a strengthening element of it. So all of these pieces are really important. The fact that we have now so many venues that are both music and eating venues and galleries in the area, most of those were really done by individual entrepreneurs who came to the area to support it, not with direct support so much from the Arts and Entertainment District, but cultivated by the Arts and Entertainment District. And this morning, and one of the speakers talked about the importance of marketing and branding. And I think that what the Arts and Entertainment did when it was formed and when it was create a destination and a brand. We are now just beginning to try to figure out whether any of the incentives that were created by the state have made any impact at all and are really benefiting any artist. And I think that the fact that we have to look for them is probably indication of the fact that they aren't the driving force of what's making this work. There are other factors that are coming together that are making it work, and I think it really is this combination of people recognizing that this is a place. There has been a lot of placemaking done around the arts in this area, but it's also one that has the support of a much broader group. I want to talk a little bit about MICA's involvement very briefly as well. We, in spite of my interest 20 years ago, never had the ability, and fortunately probably didn't have the ability to make this happen on our own. And I say fortunate because really what it meant is we had to work through partners. We had to work as a component of a broader ecology if it was going to work. And I think it's because of that that our resources and our ability to work with people in the area has been more effective probably than it ever would have been if we had tried to do it alone. So we do that in 3 different ways. We have a major investment in terms of our own property that we're doing over there, and we will continue to work on that. We have been a resource in terms of expertise, and many of my staff are working with the Central Baltimore Partnership in the Arts and Entertainment District. Mike Mola, who you met earlier, is Vice President for Operations here, and he is chair of the Central Baltimore of the Arts and Entertainment District. We also do it through the engagement of our classes and organizations, and there are lots of arts projects that are being done as class projects that are done in partnership with many of the organizations in the area. So all these pieces are fit together to bring resources to bear, and it's certainly not insignificant that we also lend our expertise and our position to help raise money for many of the projects, including many of the projects of the Arts and Entertainment District itself. So I'm going to leave it with that. We'll hopefully have a lot of time for conversation and questions. And thanks a lot. Thanks.